Welcome to today's 5 Good Minutes on the 10 Commandments. Today we'll be considering the first commandment with Bjorklund.
Martin Luther once said something to this extent. I'm going to paraphrase, not quote exactly. He said, "All other sins that we commit are rooted in a failure to keep the first commandment." And what he was saying was that when we get the first commandment right, when God is the object of our worship, then following God in every area of our lives becomes much easier than simply trying to keep the commandments. One of the commandments is, "You shall not commit adultery," and Jesus raises the level on that in Matthew 5 by saying that if a man looks on a woman to lust after her, he's committed adultery in his heart. And if a man simply says, well, I shouldn't commit adultery because bad things might happen to me, and there's maybe some harm in looking because maybe I'm not as pure as I should be, so I'm going to stop looking, don't look, don't think about, don't look, don't. That's a very different approach than understanding that the way that we get into sin is through worship, so the way that we get out of sin is through worship. So if you worship pleasure, or in the case of lust, what maybe you're actually worshiping is yourself because you want somebody to make much of you again, to make you into their object of affection. And through lust, you don't actually have to pursue somebody romantically, intimately. They just become whatever you want them to be. And so you're the object of affection. So you've worshiped your way into that sin. The way out of the sin isn't to simply say, stop the sin, but it's to say, I want to worship my way to something different, which means I start to instead say, God has created me as a sexual being. God has made me for His glory. God has set in place things that are for human flourishing. And He is worthy of my affection and allegiance. And because He's worthy of my affection and allegiance and He is good, then I will choose to arrange my life around what He says. And as we worship and see His value, then we say, His way really is the way that I want to go. I remember when I was in high school, I played football on the high school football team. And I went to a school that had a good football program. We won a couple state championships. And the coach, because he had won some state championships, had incredible cachet with the student athletes, meaning he could demand weightlifting sessions in the off season. He could demand 2-a-day hard practices. He could ask for us to go home at night at a certain time. And all of the student athletes, the 16, 17, 18-year-old young men, did what the coach said. Now, why did they do what the coach said? Well, because they trusted that he actually had a way that if we followed his rules, his standards, so to speak, would lead to success on the field and to what it was we thought that we ultimately wanted. Now, that's a bad example in many ways because human football coaches are flawed and the whole method may not be the right way of thinking, but what he got people to do was a bunch of things that they didn't think they wanted to do to achieve what it was they actually wanted. And what the 10 Commandments start to do is they start to say, understand that if you will make God your primary object of worship, your affection, that then your whole life will actually trend toward the things that you actually long for and want, that it is God's gift to you to give you structure toward the life that He created you to have. And so worship is a way that we get into sin, but it's also the way that we get out of sin. You shall have no other gods before me, says God. Not because he has an ego problem, but because he is the creator and the one who made the universe and knows what is best and invites us into it.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out all our content and podcasts on Orchard Hill Plus. You can find that and so much more on our website or the Orchard Hill app.